Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Grenada's police force affected badly by COVID-19. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Tuesday, 14th September 2021. Details when we return.
Hubbard's big promotion is back. Live free for 1 year. Spend $50 or more in any Hubbard's department and receive a chance to win big prizes every month. Property or vehicle insurance for 1 year. Free internet, cable and data for 1 year. Free fuel for 1 year. Free cooking gas for 1 year. Free electricity for 1 year. Free drinks for 1 year. Extra cash account and the big free groceries for 1 year. Promotion runs from April 1st to September 30th, 2021. Live free for 1 year with Hubbard's in association with Solgas, Flow, Grenadian General Insurance, Carib Brewery, Coca-Cola, Grenada Bottling Company, Grenlec, Communal Cooperative Credit Union, Dutch Lady Milk, Promo, Danny and Supreme. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. Concerns have been mounting among security officials in Grenada following reports that approximately 20% of officers in the Royal Grenada Police Force, the RGPF, are now infected with COVID-19. And as a result, some officers have been working in shifts of up to 16 hours per day. The island started recording an upsurge in mid-August of COVID-19 due to mass gatherings, some of which were not authorized. The latest figures revealed that local active cases moved from 5 on August 17th to 1,791 on September 10th. As a result, the health authorities there declared that the island was affected by community spread, with the Delta variant, which was detected in early August, as the main strain. In a recent interview, Commissioner of Police Edwin Martin disclosed that less than 50% of the force was vaccinated, but educational sessions facilitated by members of the medical fraternity were in progress with a view to getting officers to become vaccinated. Data from the Ministry of Health has shown an increase in vaccination since the cases began to mount, but it's not clear if some of the newly vaccinated with the first dose are police officers. The legislation establishing the police force allows for 1,025 sworn positions for the maintenance of law and order, the preservation of the peace, the protection of life and property, the prevention and detection of crime, the enforcement of all laws and regulations with which it is charged, and the apprehension of offenders. Many citizens are concerned that the continued release of information regarding the effects of COVID-19 on the already small population of the RGPF can pose a national security risk to the island at this time, and feel releases should be stopped forthwith as authorities reach out to regional and international partners for much needed security assistance and even trustworthy citizens as volunteers to help keep the peace. More young people in Barbados are contracting the coronavirus, and the island's lone infectious disease specialist, Dr. Corey Ford, says this is cause for concern.
Ford, who mans the Harrison Point Coronavirus Hospital and other isolation facilities, told the Public Affairs Department program One-on-One it's a worrying trend and the island's youth need to pay attention.
If you look at our Caribbean neighbors next door, young people have died. Young people. As young as 18, as young as 25, you're not, what's the correct word here? You're not, because you're young. COVID, there we go, I got it. COVID is no respecter of person. It's not respecter of age, it's not respecter of race, it's not respecter of color, it's no respecter of whether you have a comorbidities or not, because I would tell you, the majority of people in our ICU today, I think there are 4 or 5 who have some sort of serious comorbidity of the 20-something that are in the high 20-somethings that are in there. So this is real, right? So people.
So the majority are relatively healthy.
Yes. Young people. There are a few older ones, yes. But the majority are are, young.
Over in St. Lucia, the Chief Medical Officer, the CMO, rejects the call to ban travel from countries deemed to be high risk at this time. More in this NBC Prime News item with Rihani Isidore.
Addressing proposed border shutdowns during a September 8th news conference, the Chief Medical Officer explained evidence of COVID spread from visitor to hotel worker is inconclusive.
Examples. For example, at this phase, St. Lucia and the rest of the region and even the rest of the world, a recommendation would not come to close the borders. Let me give you a little bit of information coming from the tourism sector to give you an idea why we do not have data to recommend or to make that suggestion. From our data coming in, we monitor the number of positive cases that are coming from the hotel. We also do contact tracing. We have, on testing staff members at the hotels from positive guests, we have not been able to show that there are cases coming in from guests and a spread to the staff when we test them. We do not have any information showing that.
One veteran attorney is weighing in on the issue of mandatory vaccination against COVID-19 as debate continues to intensify regarding the issue. Sherilyn Biza of Antigua Broadcasting Service reports.
The Constitution and the law of Antigua and Barbuda permits the government to put in place measures through primary legislation or regulations to protect the public interest by requiring either mandates on testing or mandates on vaccine.
Senior counsel Anthony Astefan alluded to Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who initially didn't believe the Jamaican constitution would authorize him to impose mandatory vaccination, but is now having second thoughts. He referred to the 1905 ruling of the United States Supreme Court regarding fundamental rights.
The American courts have made it absolutely clear that in the face of a pandemic, private rights are subjected to the protection of society as a whole and the public interest, and subject to regulatory control, including mandatory vaccines.
He said this has been part of the European Court of Human Rights ruling in recent times. Astefan brings the argument closer to home to Antigua and Barbuda and the OECS sub-region, noting no right is absolute.
The Constitution expressly says that my fundamental rights are guaranteed subject to the protection of your rights and to the public interest, and that the government may, in the interest of public health, derogate from whatever fundamental rights I may have in order to protect the rights and the rights of and the health of all.
According to Astefan, the only exemption from vaccination scientific institutions have pointed to is a significant medical condition that would be aggravated by the ingredients of the vaccines.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister and CARICOM Chairman Gaston Brown is upping the ante in his call for the populace to get vaccinated. He says his administration will not shirk from its responsibility, even at the risk of losing some political capital.
Our civilization within the Caribbean is now at risk because of ignorance. We have an abundance of life-saving vaccines available to Caribbeaners, and over 50% of our populations, our respective populations, are refusing to take these life-saving vaccinations.
Prime Minister Honorable Gaston Brown outlining what he says is the grave threat from vaccine hesitancy, an even bigger peril to the Caribbean than climate change.
We now have to literally commission a third facility, the NTTC facility, within the next 2 days to accommodate the overflow from Mount St. John. The IDC, which we're proactive in building, is full. Mount St. John is full. How many more people must die in this country before we start to take the vaccination seriously?
He said his administration is moving decisively on the issue as the largest employer in the country, as he mounted a vigorous defense of the policy on testing.
Just yesterday, my cabinet took a decision that all public servants must get vaccinated or get tested at least twice monthly. Otherwise, you will not be eligible to enter into the workplace. And if you don't come to work, you cannot justify getting paid. And if you don't come to work after a period of time and you abandon your job, you lose your employment. Yes. We are a Labour Party organization. We're not seeking to threaten people's jobs. But we have a problem.
He urges the private sector to follow the government's lead. Prime Minister Brown is resolute that despite the pushback, his oath of office compels him to act in the national interest as the country faces down a debilitating and deadly disease. He urges the public to cooperate.
And the irony about it, colleagues, if we don't act, they will still blame us. So let us act, do what we are required to do to protect the citizenry, to protect lives and livelihoods. And I'm saying here to my people, you need to cooperate. We're not trying to be aggressive. We're not trying to be antagonistic towards anyone in the society. But there comes a time when we have to stand up and take a very firm position. And we're here now.
He says the government accepts medical and religious exceptions to vaccination, but urges those who can take the vaccine to do so.
An earthquake with a magnitude of 5.2 rocked several Caribbean islands on Thursday night last, but there were no immediate reports of damages or injuries. The Trinidad-based Seismic Research Center, SRC, of the St. Augustine campus of the University of the West Indies said the quake occurred at 8:43 p.m. local time and was at a depth of 10 kilometers. It was felt 79 kilometers northeast of Pointe-à-Pitre, the capital of the French island of Guadeloupe, 84 kilometers southeast of St. John's, the capital of Antigua and Barbuda, and 173 kilometers northwest of Roseau, the capital of Dominica. The SRC said that the earthquake was located at latitude 16.84 north and longitude 61.14 west. It said the latest quake followed one with a magnitude 3.2 on September 6th. On the international front, the United Kingdom government has abandoned plans to introduce COVID passports there. This should be of particular interest to us here in the region. Reuters TV has more.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will formally set out on Tuesday his plans to manage the crisis in the winter months. Johnson's under fire from some in his Conservative Party for raising taxes to fix a health and social care crisis. Health Minister Sajid Javid said on Sunday that he did not anticipate more lockdowns and that the COVID vaccine passports would not be introduced in England. Under the plan, people would have had to use the passes to prove their vaccination status to enter some venues such as nightclubs. The government will depend instead on vaccines and testing to defend the public. Javid also told the BBC he was not, quote, anticipating any more lockdowns, but would not take the measure off the table, and that he wanted to end PCR tests for travellers as soon as possible. The Nighttime Industries Association trade body, which represents the nightlife business, welcomed the U-turn.
Did you know that your friends and family can now shop at the Food Fair from anywhere in the world, and you can receive here in Grenada? The Food Fair and GrenadaMarket.com now make it possible through secure online shopping and personalized customer service. Simply send your loved ones a list of your preferred items or let them fill an online basket, and the items will be available for pickup or delivery. Visit GrenadaMarket.com or thefoodfair.gd today for more details. The new norm. Spread the news.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.